Also this afternoon, the minority in Parliament has filed a motion of censure against the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The move follows calls by 80 of the minister's own party lawmakers who earlier today called on him to resign or get fired by the president.
I'm very happy that our colleagues opposite might have heard about our intention, which we manifested yesterday by filing a vote of censure at the Speaker's office with all the signatures. I'm sure my colleagues, Sanaba Blakwa and Co, will forward the soft copies to you to see that yesterday we gave, and Majority Leader also admitted that
we are members of the Majority caucus of the Parliament of Ghana, and we here so present a greater number of the said caucus. My name is Andy Apiakubi, and I am only here as spokesperson for the majority group, without more. We have had occasions to defend allegations of conflict of interest, lack of confidence, trust against the leadership of our finance ministry. The recent developments within our economy are of great concern to the greater majority of members of our caucus and our constituents. We have made our grave concern to the President through the parliamentary leadership and the leadership of the party without any positive response. We are by this medium communicating our strong desire that the President change the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry without further delay, in order to restore hope into the financial sector and reverse the downward trend in the growth of the economy. The summary of our concerns leads to a plea that the Minister of Finance, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, and the Minister of State of the Ministry of Finance, Honorable Charles Edubuahin, be removed from office. We pray that this prayer will be carried to the presidency. We thank you very much. Meanwhile, we want to serve notice, and notice is hereby served, that until such persons as aforementioned are made to resign or removed from office, we, members of the majority caucus here in Parliament, will not participate in any business of government by or for the President by any other minister. We hope that those of us of the backbench and members of the majority caucus will abide by this prayer. We are saying that if our request is not responded to positively, we will not be present for the budget hearing, neither we will participate in the debate. Thank you very much.
Well, so that's the position of the majority side. Soon after, we had the minority also stating their case, indicating that they had already filed a motion of censure seeking to remove the government appointee.
Might have heard about our intention, which we manifested yesterday by filing a vote of censure at the Speaker's office with all the signatures. I'm sure my colleagues, Sanaba Blakwa and Co, will forward the soft copies to you to see that yesterday we gave, and Majority Leader also admitted that at the Business Committee we hinted them. And then we did file this vote of censure on behalf of the minority with a worrying, how do we make up the two-thirds? But graciously this morning, we noticed that our colleagues opposite are saying 80 of them are ready and willing to support us. I think we've taken more than enough from the finance minister, and we are happy that this is happening, and we hope they will keep to faith, that they will not chicken out along the line. I will want my ranking on finance, our ranking on finance, to read the reasons, the grounds why we think the finance minister should pave way for another person to possibly help salvage where we have reached. Because if we are not careful, we will just have a collapsed country. And I don't think anybody wants us to have a collapsed country. So I'll call on Honorable Atuforsin to read the grounds.
Thank you very much. To start with, colleagues and everyone, you recognize that the minority members of parliament are all in black today. We are mourning the democracy of the Republic of Ghana, as well as mourning the state of the Ghanaian economy. Our economy is in such a bad shape. If care is not taken, we will crash this economy to a point of no return. And that is why we have decided to mourn the state of the Ghanaian economy and to send a strong signal to government that we will not chicken out. The economy is our livelihood. We will stand firm for the people of Ghana because they deserve it. We think the people of Ghana has done no wrong to deserve this kind of treatment and mismanagement coupled with ineptitude. And so we are acting from now. And so from what the Chief Whip has asked me to do, I am reading the grounds signed by the Chief Whip of the Minority Caucus, indicating the reasons why we in the minority want our minister responsible for finance to step aside. The first one is the fact that we are seeing a despicable conflict of interest, ensuring that he directly benefits from Ghana's economic woes as his companies receive commissions and other unethical contractual advantage, particularly from the Ghana's debt overhang. The second ground has to do with an unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention with Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution and the Petroleum Management Act, supposedly for the construction of the President Cathedral. The third point has to do with the illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore account in flagrant violation of Article 176 of the 19th Constitution and the PFM Act, as well as the Petroleum Revenue Act, Act 815. The fourth one has to do with deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament, where he decided to account for expenditure as amortization and certain expenditure as footnote in the financial reporting standard, contrary to global financial reporting standards. The sixth one has to do with the fifth one has to do with the fiscal recklessness, obviously leading to the crash of the Ghanaian cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the entire globe. And then number 6 has to do with the alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude. In fact, if he had acted fast, we could have salvaged this economy. So frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis that we are seeing. And finally, on the last ground, we are saying that we've seen gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship to the people of Ghana. Colleagues, we can't do this alone.
Moments ago, these were the statements from the minority side. Let's take you back to Parliament. Kweku Asante is monitoring events for us. Kweku, just bring us up to speed with the marathon meetings happening in the House as we speak.
So indeed, Blessed, because of these new information that have come up today, having to do with some majority MPs dropping a bombshell and going against the norm and calling for the dismissal of one of their own members of their party, we understand a lot of marathon meetings are currently happening. The presidency as well as the party leadership here are trying to get on and be on the same wavelength. What we understand now is that the majority leadership were very much aware that something like this was coming, and that indeed in the last 3 months, especially since Parliament had been on break, the majority MPs had asked the leadership to speak to the president to take a firmer decision on Ken Ofori-Atta. That did not seem to have happened because given all the requests they made to President Akufo-Addo, the president kept on saying that Ken Ofori-Atta is the best minister, he's an excellent performer and should not be sacked. they say that this is not the time to put party consideration above. And indeed, if they were to sit down for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to proceed and go ahead with the way he is currently managing the economy, the NPP would have to kiss the next election goodbye, and they will lose massively. And so that is what has prompted about 80 of them to come forward so far. We know that there are a number of them, including cabinet ministers, who have not put their names out yet, but who are in support of this decision. Indeed, it is expected that in the coming days, if the president does not dismiss Ken Ofori-Atta, some of them will be willing to lay down their tools, and that is the indication I'm getting from very high-ranking sources within the NPP party here in Parliament. So, very much interesting day in Parliament. Parliament was completely about to look at something else, but this press conference from the New Patriotic Party has completely shifted the way things were expected to happen. It's putting the spotlight on Ken Ofori-Atta and President Akufo-Addo.
Do we have a sense of the actual list of governing NPP lawmakers who have signed on to this?
So we have about 25 of them. Those were the ones who came to stand by the podium and address the press conference. Majority of them coming from the Ashanti region, which is the party's stronghold. Very interesting connection to be able to create over there. So that has been done. But there's also a number of signatories who have signed, and the media is waiting on the party to provide that. Indeed, when they address the media, they made it clear that they are willing to give us that names of the more than 80 MPs who are signing on to this request of the president to sack. As of now, we don't have it yet, but it is coming in. But if you look at the list so far, the people who came to address the press conference, very high-ranking members of the party. If you look at Andy Appiah-Kubi, he is one of the very respected NPP MPs from the Ashanti region, Asante Achemnof. Andy Appiah-Kubi there. You have Dr. Efriye Ayu. He's the chairman of the Health Committee. And if you know the way Parliament works, chairmen of committee are usually very much in sync with government. They work with ministers. And so for some of them to come out, including the chair of the Government Assurances Committee, Patricia PJ, MP for Asokwa, all of them to now come forward, putting the pressure on President Akufo-Addo to sack his finance minister. It clearly indicates how much consideration they've been giving to this and what kind of conversation they've been having among themselves for them to be able to come out to make this demand of President Akufo-Addo.
Quickly, there are questions also about the timing, the decision for these MPs to come up at this point when Parliament is just returning from recess.
So what I understand is that the NPP MPs wanted to make this the big agenda, and they did not want to wait for other issues to cloud that. We know that the Speaker was preparing himself today to decide whether or not the Privileges Committee report on Sarah Adwoa-Safo should be final or not. And because of some of these issues, the Speaker says he's doing that tomorrow. So that has been postponed for now to tomorrow. There are a number of issues that are in this meeting of Parliament. It's usually called the budget meeting. The main item is the 2023 budget. But now that the finance minister is under pressure, we do not even know if he will live, quote unquote, to wait until November to present the 2023 budget to Parliament, because the pressure is getting to him, and even members of his own party are after him. So that is the concerns that have been expressed, and the NPP MP say that this could not have been, there could have not been any better timing to do this. But like you said, the NDC MPs have also filed their vote of censure, and they have 137 MPs. If they get 80 MPs, they will defeat any attempt to keep the finance minister in the office. So the president has a short time to make a determination whether or not to sack Ken Ofori-Atta or to wait for Parliament to vote against him. And we know also that the vote of censure is a private vote. Members of Parliament will go into private and then decide by a thumb whether or not to vote for whatever motion that is on the table. So very interesting days coming ahead, and the ball is now in the court of the president to take this very tough decision.
Any signs of government officials around ever since the motion and also the demand by the NPP lawmakers were tabled?
Not yet. We haven't had government officials other than MPs who are also cabinet ministers, other ministers in very official positions. They've been around, and the chatter around is that this go very deep. This request from some of the NPP MPs go very deep, and it's something that they've been looking at for a while. But what we are picking is that government is going to use the rest of today, maybe if they have up until the end of the week, to try and decide or look at what options are available to them if they are able to convince these NPP MPs, because without the NPP MPs, there is no way a vote of censure will succeed. If they're able to get their NPP MPs, 80 of them, who say Ken Ofori-Atta must go, to change their mind, then the vote of censure will fail eventually, because 137 MPs is not enough to remove a minister. To do so, you need 183. So if they are able to change the mind of the MPs, they would have made some very interesting headway.
Asante, parliamentary correspondent, joining us with the latest on this. We're still keeping our eyes on the vote of censure. And of course, I want to bring excerpts of that vote of censure that was filed by the minority side of the House for you to see on the screens. Excerpts indicating what exactly it is that the minority is asking for. So there you have it. They're basing their conditions on a number of issues. First of all, the concern about the conflict of interest, ensuring that in cases, for instance, where he directly benefited from Ghana's economic woes in terms of the bonds that we get on the market. Then there's the issue of the unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated funds, which is in blatant contravention of Article 178, as the minority is arguing. There's also the issue about the illegal payment of oil revenues into some offshore account. The finance minister, per the dictates of the Constitution and parliamentary proceedings, would have to respond to some of these claims if indeed the motion sees the light of day. There's also the deliberate and dishonest misreporting on our economic conditions. That's another accusation being leveled by the minority side of the House. There's the issue about the fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, and also the alarming incompetence and what the minority says is a frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy. So excerpts of the demands by the minority. I want to, at this point, bring in now Nehemiah Atiga, who's co-founder of ODICO. ODICO is a parliamentary monitoring group. They were mounting pressure for Parliament to be on its feet. Nehemiah, it's a good time to be talking to you. Parliament is just returning from recess, and many say that the House is back on its feet. I guess this is what you were looking for right from the start when you called on MPs to perform their duties efficiently.
They are functioning by way of scrutiny of policies and also conduct of the executive through their committees, through questioning ministers and all the motions and things that are core in terms of their mandate as members of parliament, because they are representatives of the people. And so we are happy to see this. Some people may call it a gimmick. I don't think it's a gimmick, because I think that this is long overdue. This should have happened a long time ago. And because once you are representing a people and the people are not happy with things or with the conduct of ministers of state, you need to bring them to order. And this is a step in the right direction.
The belief is that, of course, Parliament has quite a lot of outstanding matters to deal with. This may not be the right way to start once you return from recess. Of course, ODICO, in your last report, you've pointed out, for instance, issues of absenteeism, which we'll be delving into shortly. But then there are other issues that you also pointed out and raised with the Speaker of Parliament. The belief is that would have been the focus of the House once they're returning.
Yes, but this is also a critical issue. And so whilst there are a number of bills to look at, whilst there are a number of issues, including that of Ajasafo and the other absentee MPs, this particular issue is one that has to be dealt with, because here is a group of people as Ghanaians, as citizens, who have lost confidence in the economy and who continue to see the cedi depreciate against the dollar. And there's no communication from the finance minister or even from the president to give confidence to the people. And so if MPs, both on the minority side and the majority side, as representatives of that people, deem it right at this time to initiate an action that will ensure that the president takes action against the finance minister and his assistants, I think that we should be happy about it, and we should look at it as part of their core activities. And so whilst there are a number of bills and businesses to work on, we think that this is somewhat of a priority. And this, like I said, should have happened a long time ago.
The issues are diverse. I mean, two broad areas if we split them apart. The issue about the censure, we'll talk about what the parliamentary practices will be once that is stable. But there is, first of all, what many are describing as unprecedented. The fact that we're seeing for the very first time members of the governing party call out their own. We've not seen that in a very long time. I stand to be corrected on that. And what does that mean for parliamentary democracy in your view?
It just means that we are moving from that place where members of parliament move from just being, should I say, rubber stampers to people who are truly representing their people. Because in the past, you've seen that members of parliament, especially from the ruling government side, would always support what their sitting president will present and what the government business is. But in a way, they are protecting their seats as well, because you are a representative of the people. And what do you need to do? You need to do things that is in the interest of the people. Listen, the level of agitation amongst Ghanaians right now, especially where we find ourselves in a state of confusion as to what is going on, is such a big deal that you cannot pretend that you don't know what is going on. And so, even if you sit on the majority side, even though this is unprecedented, I think that we are actually moving our democracy to that point where maybe we are seeing a change where majority MPs would actually do what they are required to do to also check the executive, because we all know that we are not practicing proper separation of powers. There's a fusion between the legislature and the executive. But if they are taking this action, then I think that we should be happy about it. This is something, this particular part of our Fourth Republic is interesting, from having a hung parliament to getting majority MPs who are taking action or taking interventions like this against the sitting president and the executive.
And now to the issue about the vote of censure. Normally, what's the parliamentary practice? What's next after, of course, that motion is tabled before the House?
So the motion has been tabled, but you need a certain number of MPs to support. And once you have that number, then the process can move forward. Now, it's interesting that the minority have moved this, because what is then going to happen is the number of MPs on the majority side who are in support of certain action or who have already gone out to register their displeasure would have to join the minority for this to go through. And so if we can get, I think 180 members or so to actually be aligned to this particular motion, then we can get this through. Some people even think that maybe there should even be, and I mean, maybe I should do this. But I was going to say that people are even of an opinion that there should even be some initiation of impeachment because of the things that are going on. And if there's clearly a position of MPs from both sides aligning to the current situation and having that vote of no confidence in the current administration, then that should be something to look at.
And of course, obviously the opinion of Ghanaians will matter in this. JoyNews has been putting up a poll asking Ghanaians what they think about what's happening in Parliament. Of course, Nehemiah, let's look at the verdict and perhaps get more analysis from you on this. So we put up a question on Twitter asking Ghanaians what they think about what's going on in Parliament. So let's get to it right away and bring you excerpts of what it is that we've been asking on social media in terms of the vote or poll, if you want to call it, that's underway on Twitter. So we know that, first of all, some MPs belonging to the NPP side want Ken Ofori-Atta sacked as the finance minister. We are asking the public and those who follow us on social media to find out what they think about this call, not just from the minority side of the House, but also we're asking those from the majority side who are asking the president to dismiss the finance minister. A whopping 92.6% of those who have participated in this poll so far, well over 2,000, about 3,000 people. So it's 2,765 votes to be precise. 19 hours ago, that's when we put up this post. Majority of them, significant, over 90% are asking that, yes, indeed, the finance minister needs to leave office. 7.4% of that number are of the opinion that he needs to stay in office, or perhaps they may be thinking at the time that this would not be the right time for us to dismiss the finance minister. And that puts a lot of pressure on government as well. We'll come back to you, Nehemiah. Just hold on for us briefly, because 3 different high-level meetings are also underway, but it has only one agenda: the economy and how to fix it, and also how to get the issues back on track. We're told by the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, that a marathon of meetings will be happening. Let's cross over now to presidential correspondent Elton Brobe, who has updates for us. Elton, take us away. What's the president up to, knowing that there's pressure for his number one appointee, the finance minister, to be sacked from office?
Well, Blessed, I can say that here at the Jubilee House I mean, for want of a better word, I want to say that the place looks like a marketplace. You have all manner of people who are here. And the meetings that you spoke about, they are yet to start, because for my information, the president is meeting other people. In fact, when I got here, I saw the national organizer of the MPP, in fact, the leadership of the MPP, even from the regions, Chairman Wontim of the Ashanti region, and few others, all have come in here. And I'm thinking of it had to do with what happened in Parliament today, where some members on the MPP side, in an unprecedented move, called on the president to sack the finance minister. Is beginning to drizzle. They have already walked back into the main room, but they are here. And indeed, my information that the president is meeting the MPP, leaders who have come here to understand what is going on and to agree on the way forward, so as to respond to the demands of the MPP minority in Parliament. So that is what is happening here. And my information is that when that is done, it will be when the president will now begin to meet other members from the Bank of Ghana who are here, also the Association of Ghana Industries, bankers, Council of State. I saw a while ago the chairperson of the Council of State make his way to the Jubilee House, and then leadership of transport unions. But what is happening is that the president is currently held up in a meeting with leadership of the MPP who have come also from the regions as well. And the matter on the table, according to my sources, is to deliberate on what happened in Parliament today, and then decide on the way forward regarding how to react or respond to the demands of some members of the MPP who are unionism, demanding the resignation of the finance minister or the president's sacking. And if that is not done, they've made it clear that they may not participate or support government business on the floor. And in this particular meeting, which started today, the main agenda is the consideration of the 2023 budget and financial statements of government. And they've made it clear that they may not participate in the budget presentation. They will not debate it, which means that estimates that may be going to the ministry, department, and agencies may suffer if you have MPP members staying out of the deliberation of the 2023 budget. So, we're waiting for the advertised meetings to start. Key amongst them, the meeting with the Association of Ghana Industries, who are lamenting the cost of doing business in the country. We've also heard from the banks who are saying that it will be practically difficult for them to loan to customers if the current economic distress continues. We also heard from GPRT and other transport unions. They proposed a 40% increment in transport fare because of the recent increment in petroleum products. And they are saying that if the 40% is not done, they may not be able to pay together. So we're waiting for these meetings to start, and we'll hear from what the president has to say.
And Elton, any signs of the finance minister himself?
Well, I haven't come across him. I'm yet to cite him or any of his deputies. In fact, when I got here, I saw a number of ministers, cabinet ministers who are here. In fact, I saw the employment minister and the trade minister as well, and some other key ministers. In fact, the entire car park and the driveway here at the Jubilee House is filled with vehicles, and it doesn't happen so often. Meaning, a lot's happening here in the Jubilee House, but finance minister, I'm yet to come across it. Even though I've been told that the economic management team of the government is currently meeting, maybe he is in that meeting, which is chaired by the vice president. We are yet to have a visual confirmation of him here at the Jubilee House. When I'm able to do that, then we're able to tell our listeners and viewers what is happening. But for now, there is leadership of the NPP meeting with the president, and there are advertised meetings that are yet to start.
All right, then. Elton Brobu, our presidential correspondent, giving us the latest. The president is definitely up to a lot this afternoon, meetings back to back, starting off with the mounting pressure for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to leave office. Nehemiah, you've been monitoring all of this, and I also want to pick up your thoughts on the latest poll that we're getting online. 92% out of 3,000, close to 3,000 persons who have participated in our poll so far.
I mean, this is a true reflection of the thoughts of the people and the position of the people. And as you heard from Elton, there's really no confidence even from industry. And if you have industry not having confidence in the economy and in the government and in the ability of the government to repay loans and also to provide any form of stability, that means that we are grinding to a halt. And so the votes, the poll that you just showed, is a true reflection of the state of mind of the people, or the true reflection of the state of the nation. And listen, over the years, we've had citizens go to the polls to elect an individual to represent them under a party, and then they go to parliament and then they take the party's position. If they decide to sway anyway, the people will keep them in line and ensure that they stick by the party's position. For the first time, you are having parties going against what the individuals or MPs going against what the party's position is. And this is one example, and we saw that in the Ajwa case as well, where there were members of the minority who were supporting the action of the speaker, and then there were some who were against the action. So gradually, we are getting to that point where the members of parliament will actually take the position of the people. And so this is a clear reflection, and no two ways about that. And I don't think you are confused about it. Ghanaians do not want Ken Ofori-Atta as the finance minister because we lost confidence in his abilities to manage the economy, to maintain the economy, and to get us to that point where we are comfortable.
Focus on Ajwa herself. Of course, the Speaker has deferred matters relating to her fate to Wednesday. What's your expectation as the House resumes in earnest, trying as much as possible to consider some of the issues relating to truancy in the House, specific regards to Sarah Ajwa Safo? I
mean, for us, we would have said that, okay, so the Privileges Committee has ruled that this person must leave their seat. But as Odiko, we know from our work, from our monitoring, from the data, over 30 MPs also are in contravention of Article 97+1C. And so if they are going to do this, then the rest of the MPs will also have to go as well, or will have to be called to order, will have to be referred to the Privileges Committee, because we can't have one person being singled out for something that a number of them are found culpable in. And I think that we've once again written to the Speaker, we've provided the data, we've outlined everything, provided the details and the summary of everything. And so we know that this Speaker will eventually act on it. And so we believe that, yes, we may want to take an action, but Ajwa Safo is not the only culprit. So let's also deal with the other folks. Let's make sure that we are running a rule that is fair to everyone, that is a reflection of what he is as a speaker, and not a situation where it looks like she's being witch-hunted by a certain group or even her own political party because of her absence that's affecting their business. And so we are hoping that the speaker will actually be fair in his ruling and will ensure that the other 30 or so MPs would also be brought to book.
And if there's anything to change about this session of Parliament in terms of holding government accountable and parliamentary duties, where would Odikro want that focus to be?
Well, we want them to move away from rubber stamping. We want them to go into doing more in terms of being representative. We want them to go do more in terms of checking the executive. We also want them to, as they are a house of rules and a house of records, they should actually ensure that they use those records to influence the things that they do, but they also follow the rules and ensure that they are not doing things that are in contravention of the Constitution. We also believe that this is the time for reforms. This is the time to reform the Constitution. This is the time to reform the standing orders. Let's get these things done. And once we get these things done, we'll be building the foundations that will ensure that we enhance our democracy to become much more participatory and also become more transparent and accountable in not just by words but in deeds.
That you've been able to spend some time with us. Nehemiah Atiga, co-founder of Parliamentary Monitoring Group, Odiko.